This is Richard D. Wolff, and let me start plainly. Donald Trump doesn't just collect women, he curates props for a dying brand of masculinity that's rotting at the core of American power. While you're being told this is about witch hunts and fake news, a very real, very calculated theater is happening in plain sight, and it's not just about sex. It's about how corruption dresses itself in heels and pencil skirts to stay in control. Picture the scene: a New York courtroom. Trump sits at the defense table, a former president already convicted on 34 criminal counts over the Stormy Daniels hush money scheme. Behind him, row after row of young, polished, almost interchangeable women. Same hair, same makeup, same outfits. A juror later tells a reporter, they all look the same, they all dress the same, it creeped everybody out. That's not a random vibe, that's a casting choice. And here's the twist most people miss. This isn't just an aging man clinging to a fantasy of youth and virility. It's a deliberate political strategy to signal dominance, to normalize misogyny, and to distract from the structural damage his movement is doing to workers, to institutions, to the rule of law. The women are the wallpaper. The real story is the wall that's quietly being knocked down behind them. Imagine a slow tracking shot. The camera moves from Trump's expressionless face past the rows of nearly identical women, then out through the courtroom doors into a country where 42 million workers live on less than $15 an hour, while this man sells himself as their savior. The contradiction is not a bug, it is the business model. Trump has always run on spectacle: beauty pageants, modeling agencies, TV sets. Now, congressional hearings and criminal trials are just new stages for the same script. When he's in trouble over women, he doesn't confront his own behavior, he points at someone else's. Drag the Clintons in, shout Epstein louder than anyone else, demand subpoenas, manufacture a circus. And on the exact week the so-called Epstein files are scheduled to land in Congress, House Republicans suddenly discover an urgent need to drag Bill and Hillary Clinton into the spotlight. That timing is not coincidence, it's choreography. Economically, it works the same way. While his base is told he's fighting for forgotten Americans, his tax cuts shove an estimated 83% of long-term benefits toward the top 1%. While he rants about globalist elites, his own businesses reportedly charge Secret Service agents up to $1,100 a night just to protect him. The message is clear: exploitation is fine as long as it wears a red tie and screams about immigrants. The women around him function like a visual version of that logic. A narrow, airbrushed ideal of femininity is paraded around him like a moving billboard: youth, obedience, availability. Those who fit the mold are rewarded with proximity. Those who don't are mocked as piggy, disgusting, or refrigerators, even when they're the ones actually winning him elections. Misogyny isn't an accident of his character, it's a sorting mechanism for his entire political universe. And underneath the tabloid surface, the affairs, the hush money, the grotesque locker room language, there's a colder calculation. If public attention stays glued to the lurid drama of Trump and his women, it won't stay focused on the rollback of labor protections, the stacking of the courts, the deregulation of industries, and the quiet transfer of billions from public hands to private pockets. In that New York courtroom, the juror felt creeped out because something didn't feel human. That's because what he was looking at wasn't a love story or even a sex scandal. It was a stage set for a political machine that treats both women and democracy as disposable assets on a balance sheet that only ever has one line in bold: power. Because that courtroom tableau is not an isolated moment, it's the visual echo of how Trump has always done business, whether the product is condos, contestants, or conspiracy theories. When the Stormy Daniels verdict lands and 34 felony convictions become reality, his instinct is not introspection, it is deflection. And the most convenient shield he can reach for is still named Clinton. So suddenly, Congress under Trump's shadow moves to subpoena Bill Clinton for December 17th and Hillary Clinton for December 18th. What a coincidence that these dates line up almost perfectly with the scheduled delivery of the so-called Epstein files to Congress. While the country should be asking, what did Trump know? Who in his world benefited from Epstein's network? The political machine says instead, look over there, look at them, look at the Clintons. This is not accountability. It is weaponized distraction, a classic corporate tactic repackaged as populist justice. When a CEO is caught cooking the books, you audit the rival. When a president is exposed covering up hush money to an adult film actress, you drag out a 30-year-old scandal and replay it in HD. The goal isn't truth. The goal is exhaustion. Epstein fits perfectly into this architecture. A man whose real business model wasn't just predation, it was logistics, private jets, island retreats, the kind of luxury infrastructure that turns politicians, financiers, and influencers into permanent debtors to his hospitality. Trump knows that world. He built casinos, sold his name, traded influence against access. When he screams about Epstein and Clinton, he is not challenging that system. He is reminding it that he knows where some of the bodies are buried, even if he insists none of them are his. Look at the pattern. Whenever Trump's own exposure grows, the hush money trial, the E. Jean Carroll defamation case, the fraud rulings against the Trump organization, there's a parallel push to widen the frame, make everyone guilty, make everything murky. If everyone's a sinner, then no one can be singled out. It's the same moral discounting Wall Street uses after a crash. Sure, we broke the system, but so did everyone else. And his entourage of women reinforces that moral fog by surrounding himself with a rotating cast of compliant, polished figures, staffers, spokespeople, influencers. He creates the illusion of perpetual desirability and with it, perpetual impunity. How could a man so adored by women be a predator? How could a winner be the villain? The image becomes the alibi. But there's a darker, more brutal truth for working Americans in this theater. While Trump turns women into set pieces and weapons in his own defense, real women, waitresses, nurses, teachers, warehouse workers absorb the fallout of policies that gut healthcare erode reproductive rights, and undermine workplace protections. He preaches law and order, then attacks juries and judges when they hold him to the law. He claims to defend family values, then treats marriage, fidelity, and consent as negotiable PR variables. If you pull the camera back far enough, you see it. The subpoenas, the Epstein noise, the courtroom glamour shots all orbit around the same black hole. A man who cannot imagine a world where he is accountable to anyone, least of all to the women whose lives his power has warped, and a political ecosystem willing to burn its last reserves of credibility to keep that illusion alive, even as the facade begins to crack under the weight of its own hypocrisy. The machinery holding that illusion together is now grinding louder and clumsier than ever. Because behind the subpoenas, the choreographed outrage, and the staged rows of identical women, something irreversible is happening inside Trump's world. He is losing power. And for a man who built an empire on projection, bravado, and manufactured dominance, the loss of power is not a political inconvenience, it is an existential threat. You can already see the cracks. His own allies call his legal team the hardest, not the smartest. His former staffers whisper that he's post sex, even as he brags about banging assistants with the vocabulary of a 1,970 seconds frat house executive. His daughter keeps her distance. His wife barely appears. The closest woman to him is a political operative he once dismissed as a refrigerator. The man who claimed he alone could fix America can't even keep his inner circle from leaking against him. But the twist, the one most pundits refuse to touch, is that Trump's fading relevance is colliding with the very scandal he has tried hardest to bury, Epstein. The unanimous vote to release the files wasn't a victory for transparency. It was a sign that Republicans no longer fear Trump to the degree they once did. When a party senses a leader becoming a lame duck, loyalty becomes optional, obedience becomes negotiable, and suddenly even Trump's most powerful pressure points stop working. This is the political equivalent of watching a luxury tower lose electricity floor by floor. The lobby lights are still on. The marble still shines. But the upper levels, the ones where real power resides, are already going dark. Economically, the timing could not be worse for him. The same corporations that once cheered his tax cuts now hedge their bets, redirecting donations back toward Democrats or split tickets. Bond markets quietly price in political instability. Labor unions, newly emboldened, win contracts with wage hikes Trump never delivered. Immigrant labor shortages, caused partly by his own policies, throttle agriculture and construction. And Trump, who vowed to be the blue collar billionaire, watches the working class break away from the illusion that a reality TV mogul will ever be their champion. Every scandal peeled back now reveals the same structure, a man desperately performing strength while his movement contracts around him. The women he lines up behind him, the enemies he invents, the conspiracies he expands. Each one is a shrinking circle, a narrowing script. Even the insults, piggy, disgusting, fired, sound like reruns of a show that doesn't know it's been canceled. Meanwhile, the Epstein narrative looms like a cinematic shadow over everything. not because of what we already know, but because of what the public suspects that the files might expose not only the people Trump wants punished, but the people he wants protected. The panic isn't just political, it's personal. Every instinct tells him to obscure, distract, and delay because transparency is lethal to men who built their empires on opacity. This is the end stage of a myth. A man who once styled himself as a kingmaker, now reduced to begging Congress to chase ghosts from the 1,990 seconds. A movement that claimed to be a revolution, now running on recycled scandals and manufactured outrage. A political brand held together by the fading glow of past victories, while the country sees the real cost in wages, rights, institutions, and dignity. And the image that remains, the one that defines this entire moment, is brutally simple. An aging strong man sitting in a courtroom, surrounded by women who all look the same, while the system he once commanded begins quietly and methodically to move on without him.